Here's some stuff that I secretly questioned when I was a member of the Mormon Church, but I still stayed. The first one would be evolution. Now, I didn't really learn a lot about evolution until I was in high school, and when we were learning about it in class, it made a whole lot of sense to me. But then when I was talking to one of my friends who was also a Mormon, she was telling me some stuff about how the church said that evolution wasn't real. And I didn't really know a lot about it at this point, but I started looking into it because I was like, evolution makes sense. They taught us it in school. It makes sense. What has the church said about it? And I found out that there were a lot of Mormon prophets and apostles who had said things about how evolution wasn't real. Like they had literally said that if evolution was real and true, then the church wasn't true. I also heard from other church members at different points that some people believed that dinosaurs had never walked the earth and that the bones were just put here to test us. Now, it didn't matter as much to me what the lay members said because obviously they weren't my leaders, but when the prophet and apostles had said things like, if evolution is real, then the church is not true, that mattered a lot to me because prophets and apostles in the Mormon church speak for God. Today, I don't think the church has an official position on evolution, but these prophets and apostles who speak for God, who God appointed to lead the church less than 100 years ago, were saying that evolution wasn't real. And so that stuck in the back of my mind, but I kind of just logged that away for another day and didn't think about it. Another thing was the idea of eternal polygamy. If you know much about the Mormon church, you know that during the early days of the church, they used to practice polygamy and then stopped doing it. But I learned in seminary and in Sunday school 1 or 2 times about how eternal polygamy might be a real possibility. Now, this is the idea that when we die and we go to heaven, polygamy would be practiced in heaven. And at like 15, 16 years old, I remember learning about that and being like, that doesn't sound like heaven to me. I wouldn't be happy as a polygamous wife. Seminary teacher said to try to placate us girls was nobody is going to be disappointed when they get to heaven. So whatever happens, like you're going to be happy. And I tried to just like keep that perspective, but I knew that I wouldn't be happy if I was in a polygamous marriage when I got to heaven. But again, I kind of just logged that away and was like, I'll figure it out when I die, right? The third thing was going through the Mormon temple endowment ceremony for the first time. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures, so if you don't want to see, scroll away. But going into the temple and seeing this without any sort of heads up that this was going to happen, that we were going to be dressed like this, what was going to happen, that was really scary. And I felt so uncomfortable. I had the thought, it feels like I'm in a cult. And then immediately I was terrified that I'd had a thought like that inside of the sacred holy place, right? And so I was like immediately thinking that Satan was in my head and I was trying to like pray to get thee hence Satan kind of a thing, because I'd never had a thought like that in my life. I had never ever thought that I was in a cult before. And as a Mormon, I believed that I could get in trouble for thoughts that I had with the big guy upstairs. And so I tried to recommit myself. I prayed really hard to know that this was true, and I kept going to the Mormon church and I kept believing that it was true for another 6 years after that. Thankfully, I did eventually figure it out and I'm no longer a member, but those are the things that I questioned when I was a member. What about you?